Right, we're coming up to the end of December and the end of 2023. What has been going on in this single Pokemon card market? Well, today we'll be taking a look at some single cards in the Pokemon market for 2023. It's been a crazy year. We saw some massive gains in the Sun and Moon era, and we saw some absolutely crashing prices in the Sword and Shield era. Well, some have done really bad, Scarlet and Violet base, but then others have been holding strong, like 151, Paradox Rift, and Paldea Evolved. So today we'll be taking a look at some of the biggest cards and the biggest movers of the entire year, and we're going to see what has been going on over the past 12 months. And going into 2024, are these cards going to be good? Are these cards going to go up, or are they going to go down? Let's jump into it. Alright guys, today is going to be the final look at the single card market from both the Sun and Moon era, Sword and Shield, and Scarlet and Violet to see what has been going on over the past 12 months. We'll be looking at some of the biggest cards from each of these eras, and we're going to be seeing how they have done over the past year and where will they go in 2024. Because at the end of the day, a lot of you guys always ask me, Jace, is now a great time to get this card or that card? Should I sell? Should I buy? What should I do? Well, we'll be looking at the biggest cards today on TCG Player over the past year. Let's get into it. Alright, we're starting things swinging. We're looking at the Alt Art Giratina from Lost Origin. We've got to look at the biggest cards, right? Because they're the ones that, people are always after and want in their collections. And they're usually the ones that kind of swing and change like crazy. And to be fair, a lot of the big money cards in the Sword and Shield era have been dropping or going up like crazy. And the Giratina over the past year has had it a bit rough. Lost Origin has been reprinted a pretty hefty amount, and as you can see here, this card was at its highest at $330. It was the second most expensive card in the Sword and Shield era and doing incredibly well, with Lost Origin booster boxes going up in price. Hey, it was looking good for this Giratina. Then what happened? Reprints. There have been a decent amount of reprints of Lost Origin, and booster boxes have dropped a decent amount in value, although they're slightly ticking back up again now. Overall, a lot more Giratinas have been pulled. A lot more people have just been, getting them, selling them, buying them. So this card has been dropping in price over the past 12 months. From $330 now down to $230. This card has dropped over $100 over the past year. That's a big chunk of money for a card to drop. Nearly a third of the value of Giratina is completely gone. It's actually cheapest. It's actually been the cheapest it has been over the past 12 months, which is absolutely crazy. So it's interesting to see how far this card will fall. Will it continue to fall? Will it drop below 200 in 2024? We'll have to wait and see. Like I say, Lost Origin is quite easy to get hold of right now, but this Giratina still is tough. And then we have the Blaziken, the Flaming Chicken KFC, coming in from Chilling Reign. This was a big money card. Done really well. Was in my top 10 most expensive cards, most expensive alt arts, and the like. Now, you can see what's happened, okay? It really did spike. It came into the year doing extremely well, right? It was like trickling along at 165, and then when it got to around about March, it then decided to just have an insane break for it and go to as high as nearly 230. It just went crazy. There was a lot of hype at the beginning of the year of Chilling Reign. A lot of people saying, look, now's the time to buy booster boxes. Look, if you bought booster boxes a year ago and you were pulling Blazikens back then, you would have done incredibly well. Because, when they were $90 a box, $80 a box, they were fantastic. Pull rates are tough, though, for Chilling Reign. It's one of the reasons why the value of this card is quite high. But it has dropped. As we can see, it's gone back to where it was at the start of the year and where it was at the end of last year. Hey, look, this card had its moment and now it is dropped. It will go back up. It is a card that people want. It's not easy to pull. Chilling Reign's getting more expensive, and it will continue to get more expensive. So this card will eventually go back up. I kind of feel like the big hype around this card blew up quite a bit at the beginning of the year, and it has now settled to basically where it should be and where it is, or where it was, a year ago. We're going to take a look at the Rainbow Chonkachu. We don't normally talk about Vivid Void much. Let's talk about the Rainbow Chonkachu. Now, this was always a big money card and a big chase card, especially from Vivid Void. Extremely tough to pull. I've never even pulled it. It never even held one in my hand. So a year ago, this card was around about $130. It did actually go up to around $170 again at the beginning of this year, and it has dropped now down to around about $100, $107. Now, this card is great. It hasn't really been reprinted. There's a lot of Vivid Void still out there. Booster boxes have maintained their value. They haven't gone up, they haven't gone down. They kind of just stayed steady. But this card overall has been dropping in value. This is a beautiful card. If you're a huge fan of Pikachu, then you can do really well with this card. But yeah, it's dropped. It hasn't dropped by much. Dropped by about 30%, about $30, over the past year. But I do feel like this is still a great card for anybody's collection. How will it do in the long run? I think this will be a big chase card. I kind of get the feeling this is very similar to like the Charizard from Burning Shadows. There's only like one good card in the whole set. really, really tough to pull, and everybody wants that rainbow. Kind of feel like the Chonkachu's kind of the same, but for the Sword and Shield era and Vivid Voltage. So yeah, I mean, it has dropped. I mean, it's tough to tell with Vivid Voltage because it hasn't really moved, like the Seal product hasn't really moved much in value, whereas obviously a lot of the Seal cards have dropped, and as well as the Pikachu. Right, we're going to take a look at the Pikachu with the felt hat. Now, this is obviously the Van Gogh promo. This has been doing extremely well. Now, I've got one. I kind of wish I picked up two. I could have picked up two, but I chose only to get one, because I actually thought that when the Pokemon Center brought it in, where you could, when you do an order, you can get hold of them, I actually thought that they were going to do quite a bit, similar to like the special delivery Charizard, but they actually didn't. They had a very, very limited amount, and this card is sharp in value. So it was, we go back to like, let's say 3 months, we get a better view. So it was around $80, and we're looking at just over 150. It did actually go to as high as 170 raw. Hey, look, I don't know what the graded card values of this card are, but I bet a 10 is going to go for an absolute fortune. So yeah, this is a great card. I mean, I have one in my collection. I will be sending off to get graded. Now, eBay is your best place to get it, or TCG Player, of course, but it has gone up a decent amount, and I do feel like this will probably go along the lines of that special delivery Bidoof. This will be a very expensive and a very sought after card in the future. You know, like we used to have those like Mario crossover promos and stuff like that for Pikachu, and they're worth quite a bit. I feel like this will be the same. I'm kind of on that same level, but we'll have to wait and see how well it does. But I do feel like it's a very, very good card for any collection. Right, I'm going to take a look at the Charizard from 151. Now, Charizard from 151, or just 151 in general, has been doing very well. There has been a ton of product opened of this set. Pull rates are tough, everybody loves this set, and the card values are holding pretty steady. Let's take a look over the past 3 months, basically when this card came out. It did actually go to as high as 130 and then went even higher to 135, and it has actually dropped, but it's one of the few cards, in fact I actually think now it's the only card in the Scarlet and Violet era that's now over $100. That's in 116. Hey look, it's not like silly expensive as we saw some of the Sword and Shield era cards, but it's still pretty good. It's still early days. As a rule, cards tend to drop in value at the early days and climb toward the end of their print runs. So I do expect this card to bounce back even higher in the future, going into maybe the end of 2024, going into 2025. Unless they're going to print an absolute ton of 151 like Crown Zenith, we'll have to wait and see how well this Charizard does and all the other cards from 151. Alright, let's take a look at the Roaring Moon from Paradox Rift. Now, this card has been dropping, as you can see, guys. This is still a big card from Paradox Rift. $88 though, it has dropped under $100. This card was doing very well, and as you can see here, 111, now down to 87, 88. So this card has fallen from grace a little bit, and so a lot of the other cards from Paradox Rift. I kind of feel like a lot of people just open up Paradox Rift right now. Pull rates are tough, they're kind of on the same level as Paldea Evolved. This card is a beautiful card. I have pulled it myself on stream, but I do expect this card to continue to drop over the coming months going into 2024. You know, it was the second most expensive card in the Sword and Shield era, and the second only card would be $100 or more. But now it's dropped. Hey, look, we'll have to wait and see where it settles, but I do expect it to continue to drop going into 2024 because a lot of people still open up Paradox Rift, and we're yet to have even more waves of reprints and more stock of Paradox Rift coming in, which will make this drop even more. And then we're looking at the Iono. The Iono's been doing well. It's been bouncing back from Paldea Evolved. I really rate Paldea Evolved. I really rate this card, and I do think it will continue to climb because Paldea Evolved is a good, strong set. So let's take a look. We're looking around about $98, and then it did actually drop to around 80, and it's bounced back up to above $92 since it came out. Now, it did drop, and it continued to drop and continued to drop, and then it dropped really low, and then it, lowest has been, and then it has bounced back. Paldea Evolved, similar to Paradox Rift, has really tough pull rates. To get this Iono is going to be difficult, but it's holding strong. It's now back to being the second most expensive card in the Scarlet and Violet era. Will it go back over $100? It could do. It really, really could do. Paldea Evolved is cheap to get. You know, booster packs, booster boxes, you name it. Paldea Evolved is really cheap to get, but the pull rates are very difficult to get a specific card you want, especially this Iono. I really want it in my collection. I don't have it yet. I know it's a full art trainer being the most expensive, but it is what it is. Now, this compared to the Miriam from, you know, Scarlet and Violet base, where Scarlet and Violet base Miriam is $25 for the biggest card in the set, Iono's doing very, very well. So I kind of expect this to actually go up going into 2024, even though there's a ton of Paldea Evolved right now. The fact is this card is bouncing back where there's still so much stock and people fire selling their Paldea Evolved. This is a good sign for a card like this, especially in the future. Alright, the old Charizard from Brilliant Stars has had it rough. Now, I actually thought this card would be on the same level as the Moonbryon when it got printed. Yeah, it didn't go as planned on that one. So, $117. This card actually has a bit of a bounce back over the past month or so, We go back at the year and we can really see what's gone on with this Charizard. So we're looking at around about nearly $200. It was looking really good, and this was when Brilliant Stars booster boxes were also nearly $200 a box. And then a reprint restock came, and then yeah, everything went crashing down. Again, this is another thing we've seen with the Giratina. Now happening with the Charizard. This is what happens when it gets reprinted. However, because it is such a big card and such a strong set, that I do expect some of the big cards to bounce back. And I do expect the booster boxes, well, the booster boxes kind of already have bounced back a bit, because they're over 150 a box now. These cards will go back up over time, especially this big Charizard. And we're going to see that with the Giratina as well, because Brilliant Stars is a strong set, Lost Origins is a strong set. We're not talking about Dancer Blaze or Rebel Clash. We're talking about big, strong sets like Brilliant Stars, and this is such a big fan favorite card as well. Yes, there's a ton of it around. Brilliant Stars does have good pull rates. I mean, I've never pulled this myself. I do want it in my collection, but nonetheless, this card is starting to bounce back though, but it has dropped nearly $100, you know, basically half its value in the past 12 months, which is actually quite a bit. Big iconic Pokemon and such an amazing card from Brilliant Stars. Now, this Charizard from Obsidian Flames, however, has been falling. Obsidian Flames has really good pull rates, kind of similar to Brilliant Stars, but I would probably say even better. It is a small set, so it's actually a lot easier to get some of the cards, especially this Charizard. I actually really like this though. I really like the artwork. I think it's absolutely amazing. Let's go back over the past year, or basically we go back 6 months, that's kind of when it came out, right? I actually had high hopes for this card. I thought if the pull rates were tough, then this Charizard would actually be the most valuable card in the Scarlet and Violet era. It wasn't the case, right? It was very good pull rates. This card was a lot easier to get than people would have thought, and I had thought, and we're looking at now just over $50. That's pretty rough. I mean, I thought this set could be a Darkness Ablaze 2.0. It's better than Darkness Ablaze, but I do still feel like it has some similarities to Darkness Ablaze, but this is still a beautiful Charizard. And I do think it's a really good, you know, set, to be honest. I actually think it's quite good. I don't think it's bad as a set like Dancer Blaze. I have to kind of compare it to Dancer Blaze, mainly because it's a Charizard set, and both sets were the third set that came out in their eras. And Dancer Blaze is not really that great, but Obsidian Flames is definitely better. But this Charizard, however, has been dropping, and I think it will probably continue to drop. Obsidian Flames is quite cheap, really easy to get hold of, and because it's got such easy pull rates, unlike Paldea Evolved and Paradox Rift, I do feel like the Charizard value will stay towards the lower end. And we've got to talk about the Moonbryon, of course. The Moonbryon, $541 right now. Over the past year, this card's had a bit of a roller coaster. It started the year just under $500, then it surpassed $500, and everyone was like, whoa, okay, we're talking about big money card right here. Then it surpassed $600, it went all the way up to $650. And I remember doing a video at the beginning of the year, or near the beginning of the year, saying, I think by the end of this year, this card will reach $700. Well, it actually went the other way and has gone back down to $540. It did actually drop even lower to just below $500, so it's actually bounced back a pretty good bit, to be fair, about $40, $50 over the past couple of months. I don't really know where this card will land, right? Evolving Skies is going to be a very expensive set moving forward, with booster boxes going to be going up year by year. The Umbreon will do the same. I kind of feel like the Umbreon will go the same way. Similar to the Latios and Latias from Tag Team, I do expect the Moonbryon to continuously go up over time. It may not be by a lot, but it will go up over time. Now, it has dropped recently. I kind of feel like the hype for Evolving Skies has died down quite significantly. There's still actually a lot of Evolving Skies products out there that you can get for a reasonable price, like from the Charizard UPC, for instance. You get 3 packs in there, and that's under retail. So you can actually get some packs of Evolving Skies. Obviously, booster boxes is the worst way to go to try and pull the Moonbryon, just because of how expensive it is. But I do still feel like that's probably the best way to go, is from other products similar to the UPC, that you can get some cheaper Evolving Skies packs to crack open to try and pull the Moonbryon. But to be perfectly honest, I would just buy the Moonbryon outright if I was going to do that, rather than trying to get it in a booster box. There you have it, guys. That's just some of the big cards that we looked at for this year. Some of them have gone up, some of them have gone down. I mean, some really good cards to take a look at, and I think going into next year would be things like the Pikachu with the felt hat promo. I think that would be an amazing card and a very strong performer going in to 2024 and beyond. And I think the Moonbryon will do pretty well. You have to keep an eye on some of the Scarlet and Violet era. Now, we saw a lot of Sword and Shield era drop this year. It'd be really interesting to see how well the Scarlet and Violet era cards will do going into 2024 and beyond, because they're quite new, and we're having some really strong contenders in 151 and in Paldea Evolved. I do really think that the Iono and the Charizard from 151 will actually be big chase cards in the future, similar to what like the Blaziken is in Chill and Rain, or even things from Evolving Skies, or even the Gengar from Fusion Strike. So it'll be really interesting to see how these cards perform into 2024. But I do expect more cards to continuously drop in value, especially over the next 6 to 12 months. However, I do expect the Steel product to do the opposite, especially from the Sword and Shield era. If you made this far into the video, guys, and you've enjoyed it, make sure to smash the like button and make sure to subscribe for more Pokemon content. And let me know your thoughts down in the comments. What do you think it's going to do really well next year? I want to know, what are your thoughts and opinions? Which cards you think will do very well next year? Give other people some ideas by dropping it down below in the comments, and yeah, we'll check it out. If you want to know how well I did with my PSA submissions a year ago compared to now, nearly a year on, then make sure to click the video on screen right now. And if you watch more Pokemon content, guys, you know what to do. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Alright guys, that's it from me in this video. As always, you guys are legends, and I'll see you in the next one.